Hey everyone, welcome to the 420 Smoke Room. Tonight we'll be having Glenn on as a guest. I'm just going to wait for him to join. We are live and relevant for those of you who are interested in joining us. It's the 420 Smoke Room vibe. Glenn is from a nonprofit organization that I am pretty geeked to talk about tonight. I'm waiting for him to get on so he can definitely tell you guys more. Let me go ahead and actually tell him I'm here because I'm running late myself, so maybe he thought I canceled. Let's go ahead and give him a message. Alrighty, so how was everyone's night tonight? Leave me a comment or a message on whatever platform you're on. I definitely would like to know what's everyone up to this evening. Alrighty, Glenn is just now joining us. Let's welcome Glenn. Hey, how are you?
Good, I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
I'm so glad to. Sorry I'm late and sorry, and thank you for working with my schedule. My teenagers had me running extra places today, dropping them off, getting food before I went, and it's like, Lord, one thing after another in traffic.
Right.
Anyways,
Oh, I completely understand. Yeah.
so I wanted to talk about what you do and kind of let the 420 Smoke Room know about the nonprofit organization that you are the co-founder of.
Well, my name's Glenn Keeling, and we live in Ohio. And my wife and I, between us, we created, it's called the Creative Care Beat. And what our chapter does, what we started out doing is we started working with patients and helping patients get access to medical cards and to help them get acclimated with cannabis and teach them about the use of cannabis and the proper uses of it. We had a lot of older people wanting to know more about cannabis. So we decided that we were going to do that. We were going to be educators, and we learned everything we could possibly. We went to several different colleges and got a bunch of different degrees and um, about cannabis, so we could go around and talk and give help people out. So that's what the Creative Care does.
That's
And then
amazing.
in 2017, being medical patients, um, you know, Ohio become medical. Actually, they passed it in 2016, and of course they had to wait for the time period to go through. But we waited until mid 2017 to become medical patients and start with that. Um, and October of 2017, we were rated under the impression that we were drug dealers because we did have a lot of people come to our house. We gave tutorials. We never didn't do anything illegal. We were educators. So we went through 3 years of fighting court case and everything. But going through those, at the beginning of this, my wife, while I sat in jail, she found the Human Solution International and reached out to them for support. And what that is and the Human Solution International is a grassroots federally recognized 501c3 organization.
Okay.
And it's concerned citizens that work to restore the rights of negatively affected people by the civil rights violations of cannabis cases and such. And, they do court support and do letter writing campaigns and stuff. And they got behind us. So when I got out of jail, we decided to represent the Human Solution as part of Creative Care Beacon. We would represent the Human Solution as far as the Ohio chapter goes. And that's what we continue to do is we fight for the injustice, that goes on with cannabis and the prohibition of it. And, we feel that nobody, it doesn't matter, if it's 1 gram, 10 pounds, 100 pounds, we will stand behind them because cannabis, nobody should be jailed for cannabis. And that's just the way.
No, not at all. I mean, especially when it's legal in some states, and if it's legal somewhere, then somebody shouldn't be jailed for it.
Right. Well, there is something that's called the committee law. United States that that all people, if it's legal for some in some states, it should be legal for all people, and that's written in our Constitution.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, when California first legalized it, back in the 80s, it should have been legalized for everybody the way California done it.
Okay, correct. I feel like that should have been way back then, and then things would definitely be different now if that would have happened.
Right. I believe it would be. There would be so much better. It would be a lot different.
Couldn't even imagine how different.
Right. And see, there's lots and lots of states that, and see, the way they pushed it is they did it with a citizens initiative. They got together and with a bunch of attorneys and lawyers and people, and they wrote initiatives for themselves because they're one of the states that citizens can write an initiative, and as long as they get enough support for that, then they can pretty much legalize. And what it does is it's a referendum to their state constitution, and that's how they've done it, and that's how almost every state now that has legalized cannabis in one way, they have made the change to their the state's constitution, and that's referred to as a referendum.
Okay.
I believe that Michigan is one there that I believe Michigan has direct, which means it's an indirect for statute or initiatives. But you can do a constitutional initiative in Michigan, which is nice. And what that is citizens can gather and write they can take a law, look at what their cannabis prohibition laws are, and they can make amendments to that. They can't change the law, but they can kind of replace that law.
We can twerk it in our favor.
Is
what you're saying? Twerk it in our favor, basically adjust certain rules within the actual laws. What you're saying to help in our favor. So, like, if we were arguing over, like, hypothetically a percentage, like a 2%, 5%, 10%. You know what I mean? Like level, hypothetically, we could twerk those things.
And those are called referendums because you're not changing law, you're just adding to what the law is. You're changing it from saying what it says currently to what you want it to say. It pretty much is what it does. And unfortunately, Steve and them, down in Texas, and we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no way that a citizen, they can't, there's no way that they can't. They can't make one to their constitution.
Right. So why is that? Like, how can we change that? Is there a way that they're to change or that itself? Or is there a way that we could somehow... I don't understand why some states don't have the right to vote, like you were saying this morning on our previous podcast. Some states don't have the right to vote, and some states do, like Indiana and Texas, which is confusing because I know that all the amendments give us the whole right, and the whole Constitution discusses the whole reason. Like in history class, when you learn and you're like in school, they teach you about the House of Representatives, they teach you about the Democrats, they teach you about the actual, like the whole system and how there's three, and that's to make sure that one side can't do like a takeover. That's what the whole three-party thing is, and we the people are the third party, which is our vote. So how is it that the third party isn't allowed in certain states? Like, I never literally knew this, and I know so much about law and stuff, so I'm definitely floored that certain states don't have the right to vote or create acts or help create petitions or try to do amendments to their laws. Like, how are they able to get anywhere? Like, wow, how? What is their system? What is their order of operation? They have to have one.
Right. Well, there is lots and lots of states that don't allow constitutional amendments. Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana.
Lord.
Minnesota, Mississippi.
Well, I know Minnesota and Mississippi went legal, though, with marijuana, correct?
What's that?
Didn't Minnesota and Mississippi last year around this time go legal with marijuana, along with like 2 or 3 other of those states?
Yeah, yes, they did. And the way those states and see
How did they get it
those
legal then, with their
right,
rules being the way they are?
right states that don't allow direct or indirect constitutional, citizens initiative. It's an amendment coming from the legislative referral. It's coming from the legislative branch. They've decided, your representatives decided to pull together and finally legalize it. It had nothing to do with citizens initiatives, and that's sad that there is still a lot of states that don't allow citizens initiatives, and I mean Ohio is lucky in Ohio that we can change our constitution, and we can change status.
So how many senates will it take to get a vote then? Like, how many senates in Texas or one of these other states does it take to get to agree to make marijuana legal before it becomes legal? Then if the people don't have the vote and it's all dependent on the senates, how many senates do you need? Like, is there...
I believe in most of them you have to have 2/3, more than half.
And how many are there to begin with in those states, if you don't mind me asking? Do you know? I mean, you seem like you know all the answers, so I'm freaking your brain here. How many senates are there? Like, what is 2/3? What are we looking at? 2/3 of 100, 2/3 of 50, 2/3 of... What's the approximate number of senates?
It depends on how many people that you have as representatives, as far as what's your state. It would be your state.
And for Texas, specifically for Stephen Laurie's situation, how many does Texas have?
I could pull it up and look.
Just a roundabout, a guessed about, like just so I'm. It doesn't have to be quote, just hypothetical.
I think that they would have a total, and what their governmental body would be between both houses, and I would think that they would have upwards of around 100 and some.
Okay, so about 100, like I said in the first number. So 2/3 is at least 25 to 30, give or take, if it's over 100. So
2/3 would probably be about 25, 70 to 5 to 80.
2/3
people vote would be a 2/3 vote.
Dang, so you would need like almost the whole house, basically. It feels like.
For a lot of them, it would be.
And how far away are they from this? Like, how many senates have, like, in the last vote and when they agreed on this teacup, how many of them are pro-marijuana, hypothetically around?
I don't think any of them for Texas.
So then how did they get the teacup to pass?
Well, they've got such a low... Their percentage, what they're allowed to have is such a low amount that it might as well not even be registered. I mean, they might as well not even have a program in Texas because as low as it is.
Yeah, I seen that, and I thought that was like a knock in the face, because legal level of CBD is 3%. So how is the teacup 1%?
Well, it's 0.03 for hemp. To keep it under to be legalized, to be legal hemp, it would have to be 0.03%. I think that 3%. I think what they give them 1%. I think it was that Steve said.
Yeah.
It's either 1 to 3%.
It's 1%. It's 1%, which is to me lower than the CBD level. So it's kind of like a knock in the face, in a way, because it's not an upgrade. It's even a downgrade version, just allowing me, and it's still not even bud. It's only. I believe it was an edible form and like a wax form or something like that. But it's not smoking. It's other forms of consumption.
Yeah.
Which is odd. I'm just floored at the Texas, like the difference, because I really love Lori and Steve's cause from Canna Care, Gift of Life, and I really love what they're trying to do over there. But at the same time, I feel like I can't really help as much as I would love to, because I'm just not understanding the differences, because I never realized the difference in the laws between Texas and Michigan, and I never realized how lucky Michigan is to have the laws that we have, until you are realizing and comparing them to other states, and you're realizing, oh wow, like it's not as bad as it seems.
Well, see, as far as if you rate and grade, states by state, Michigan, I believe, ranks number 7 as far as what their cannabis, as far as their cannabis program, because they do have a really good. You guys in Michigan have a really, really good
It's awesome.
medical program, and as far as recreational, it's not a very bad.
No, we got a good package and
Program.
a good deal, actually. I say when we walked out, I feel like feeling like winners when we won the cannabis votes, and that the percentages of what we're allowed, the way that everything is regulated and ran, it's not the same even as Colorado, where from what I'm understanding, like all of the dispensaries are fully filmed 24 hours, all of this, all of that, every operation is like, it's crazy the way that they have it set up. Ours isn't even like that down here. It is so simple and smooth operation compared to some of the even better states that have better laws, like you were saying, or have been legal for longer. I don't really know, man. Like, I just feel like we got lucky. That's all I could say.
Right. Well, Ohio is ranked 28th, and
Ooh.
we're,
So yeah, let's talk about those. What are Ohio's? I've never really heard anybody complain, and most people, I just see them traveling off so often from Ohio. And when marijuana first got legal, before they put that caption that we discussed this morning, I would see a lot of Ohio dispensary, like not dispensaries, but like they would stack up. I've seen like this guy come and get like 300 pens at one time and like 2 pounds, and this other guy was getting like, it was like all this stuff going, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And obviously Ohio has some type of rules and regulations, but what is it? Like, what's going on down there?
It's horrible. Our program, listen, we can go, if we're counted as days, we have like a 45-day, because of the COVID thing, they cut us from 90 days to 45-day increments, but you get 90 days, but you get it split up in 2. During that time, the amount that a person's allowed to have for a 90-day supply, I'm allowed to have 8 ounce total.
So time out.
90-day supply.
You're only allowed a 90-day supply on hand, or are you allowed to grow? Like, I'm not understanding what a 90-day supply means, because I've never heard that.
It's illegal for us to grow. We have to get what we get from the dispensaries, and we have to buy it. And it's pretty much, they call it an Ohio 10, which is 2.83 grams, and they sell it in 2.83 grams. You can get more, of course, a half ounce and ounces, but you're going to pay out the ass. I mean, you're looking at, for a half ounce, somewhere around the vicinity of like $240, $250 or so for an ounce, anywhere from $420 to $580, $600 somewhere for an ounce.
But what's the grade of THC for that ounce? Like, what's the percentage?
For an entire 90-day supply, and we can mix it.
Well, no, I know out here the prices can be, an ounce could be 400.
Our cannabis, we have to vaporize it. So that's another one of our laws. The pricing at the dispensary, when you go, usually it's ridiculous. They rape us. Our prices are higher now than the program before it started. When it first started, most of our prices are a little bit higher. But there's still several states that I feel bad for, that don't allow any kind of. They don't have any adult or medical use. Nebraska, Idaho, North Carolina, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Kansas don't have any kind of program. There's been an attempt to legalize in South Carolina since the 80s, but they've been unsuccessful. So there's a few other, Tennessee and Wyoming are still not legal, but it's just.
There's just so much across the state. Each state seems like has their own different battles, and everyone has their own different regulations. The same with all of our laws, which makes it even harder, because it's hard to compare notes to what one state did to the other state to help, because the order of operation in each state is different. So, I definitely feel like they put walls and battles up with that alone, because coming together as, with all of us, with all of our knowledge in the cannabis community, but it's like all of every law has blockages in every state. Like, and I'm not understanding why are they so against it. It's literally helping so many people medically with like seizures and physically being able to eat, pain, like a million. There's so many things I could go on and on, but literally, it's proven to help. And what's wrong? What's so harsh about it? Why can't people grow their own medication if it's growable? Like, why make it illegal to grow it? But then literally it's illegal for you to grow it, but then they're going to take over the old elementary schools and grow it in it.
Right. Well, the biggest thing with growing is there's not that continued generation of money, because when you have to go to a dispensary, you buy from the dispensary. Of course, that goes, they get their cut of that. If you grow at home, the only thing that they get is what you have to spend for the licensing. They don't get any other. It's just a one-time thing. So if they don't allow home grow, they continue to get that cash flow. And keeping it illegal for most states, I mean, there's still a cash flow for illegal states, because most times you look at jails and you'll find patients in jail. Most times they convict patients, they go after patients because they can wear us down. They get more money from keeping it illegal than they do really from keeping it legal, because keeping it illegal, they still have this civil forfeiture that they use, all the money and your property that they get, the money it's going to cost you to go through the cannabis case, or to begin with. So they get more generated coming from it being illegal than they do from legal. And in most states, they're getting it from both hands. They're getting it because they're busting a lot of people and taking.
Right. I was just gonna bring that to the attention, and not only that, but here, the opportunity for grow. It takes knowledge to grow. People think it's, you just put the plant under in a pot and you put it under a light. It's like tomato. It's not that hard. You add some water. No, it's not that easy, and a lot of people with 12 plants can't maintain those at that time. Not only that, but your house and your spaces that you're already currently living in, they can't hold. And the harvest, you're not able to supply yourself with enough weed through the whole year with your own grow, that you still have to shop at the dispensaries or outsource, and you still have to spend money, which is putting back into the economy, for all your lights, for all your grow nutrition, for all your stuff. And there's businesses open that sell all of that stuff that's then profiting the tax dollars. Like, there's a large market still for the grow. Then back in the court system, like you were saying, there's still a chance to double profit, because of course people aren't going to listen. You're going to get court fees and fines with that, because you're going to raid properties. You're going to, take over people's possessions and deem, whatever. You know how they do when they seize all your stuff when they feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there's a large market still, like larger, whether just by even allowing you to grow and opening those doors. So even to say the financial aspect isn't there, it's there because Michigan's seeing it. There's so many hydroponic stores where you go in and you just buy the actual equipment to grow in water or dirt or whatever you're choosing. There's so many garden stores now. I've never seen more garden stores in my life. Like back in the day, and when I was growing up in school, they were trying to make like gardening a thing in class because it was going to become a dying thing. You feel me? Now there's like all these stores on the corner. You would have never thought, went back from my high school days till now, that this is what it would be. But gardening and cultivation, there's a lot of business in that, like a lot of money. That stuff's not cheap.
Right, and it's not. And, I think that what they need to devise is a place, because there is going to be people that can't grow, and then there's going to be people that can have 12 plants. And listen, I've grown, and I've grown for patients, and I've grown. I lived in Michigan. I lived in Davidson, Michigan, and was a patient there, and I had.
I'm not far from there.
What's that?
I'm not that far. I'm in Pontiac.
Oh, right on. So, when I lived in Davidson, I was a medical patient, and I grew for some people. So I'm fortunate to know how to grow and how to produce.
Right. So those are the lucky
However,
ones. But also the fact that you have patient ups your 12 plants and changes the number to the mathematical factor. Plus, you're not just applying for yourself at that point as a caregiver, which is a
right,
different level of just being a recreational grower. A recreational grower here is only allowed 12 for without a license. Anything over 12 or anything for a patient or to be a caregiver, you need a form of a license at that point,
right,
regardless of the with the legal part, to make it official. So
right.
with just 12 plants, could you? I know you're obviously a master grower, I would assume. So you could probably make those buds stretch and make that through the year possibly for your medication without having to outsource. But for the average person with no experience and who's hopping into the industry just thinking, that, oh, it can't be that hard, which we have a
Right.
lot of Michigan doing that with the stores going up and and it becoming recreational now, because before a lot of these people were, the growers grew, but they had marijuana licenses, the ones that licensed, so they obviously had a benefit. So it didn't really open the market. The market really changed once it opened the door to recreational, because now you don't need a license. So people that were scared to go file for a license to be able to grow because they didn't want their people to know that they were even consuming or their job or whatever, now you can. And they even just passed in Oakland County that certain jobs can no longer drug test you for marijuana and deny you the opportunity for employment due to marijuana usage.
Right. And I think that the people that can grow, I think that there should be a place where they can take their overreach
In the
and sell
beginning
it.
there was, now you can't. In the beginning, before the laws recently changed, you could take it to the dispensary and the dispensaries could purchase your extra grow off of you, and it was an easy extra side money basically, whether you consumed it or didn't. Now you
Right.
can't
Well,
do that.
I don't think it should go to a dispensary per se. I think that where it should go is to like a station house, to like a warehouse, and that people that will offer it to people that can't grow for themselves,
Yeah, like a
at a
nonprofit
very
organization that was
cost.
able to set up that and help do something like that. That'd be awesome, to help people get their medications that can't grow or can still need it but financially can't afford it, or the elderly, or the veterans, or the disabled, or a long list of, I'm sure we could think of.
Right.
you
And
know.
that's what I want to do, and that's where creative care beacon. That's where we're headed. Is we want to be
Really?
able to be one of those station houses. We would like to have one of them clearing houses, and that's what it would be. It would be a clearinghouse for other patients. It
I
would
would
be like
love that. That
you
would
know,
be awesome. I've talked about something like that, but honestly, I really don't see our government allowing with our laws right now. I still think Michigan is kind of far away from just being able to say we can give it to, like, do that with a nonprofit organization.
yeah.
So
Ohio's nowhere near that either.
I would have, I like
I
originally.
think, and that's what the citizen initiatives is for. Is those are things that we can work on changing and getting added to that. We can have.
Yeah.
We can write it and get people to back that, to have a clearinghouse for those kind of places for other patients that are in dire straits. And let's make I tell you, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be able to grow for themselves. That it would be nice for these growers that can grow, that after they have what they need for that particular moment, that they would have a place where they could go and make a donation. I mean, I'm not saying that would go for not for the person growing and donating it, but I don't think that the patient that goes to these clearinghouses, I don't think that they should be charged an arm and a leg. I don't think
Right.
2.8
I definitely
grams
feel you, and I
should
feel like the
cost
market
like
has changed. So
$89.
I feel you, and I feel like the market changed, so it's harder for people to get a hold of their medications now, and it's not as easy. And with the laws and the barriers, I definitely feel like it shouldn't be something we're paying 400 or $500 an ounce for. That's just extremely crazy. When like literally, that's crazy. Um, Especially if it's not high percentage of THC, because like out here you can get for that price an ounce, yes, but it's going to be like 28 to 30% THC. Now, if you're looking at a regular ounce from like a regular percentage THC, like half of that, you're looking at $200 easily. And if you're looking at larger amounts, you could get them easily for 100, 125, 150, depending on where you go, and the
Right.
quality you're looking
And
for.
see, I think those are reasonable prices, and that's the way the price should be. I don't think that somebody should go to a dispensary and for 2.83 grams spend $70, $80.
So I got
That
a
is not
question that just came to mind that might help with this answer. So normally there's like a fair market pricing, and there's like all these laws that talk about what we're allowed to charge with like the whole treaty laws, and we're in the middle of remaking those. Has Ohio looked into seeing what their new locked contract for the fair market price would be? And is there a way to vote or change on that? And is there a way to overview those contracts or go to those city meeting where those contracts are held? And is there a
no.
way for the organizations to bid on those contracts to get those contracts?
No, I don't think that they're. I think that they have allowed them to pretty much make their own prices. There's not a set. There's no fair market run for our cannabis program. It is what
So
it is.
yes, but no. So when Trump was president, the treaty laws went expired and we did not renew. So we've been in like a limbo. Now, from my basic understanding, which I'm not, don't quote, but I'm not, from my basic understanding, and come January, the new treaty laws will be in effect with all of our new contracts. So let's just take a produce or like an apple for instance. Let's say before, for the last 10 years, I've been selling you this apple for $1. Well, when I first had that contract with you, I was making 30% off the apple or whatever. Now it's costing me $2 for that apple, but I still have to sell it to you for $1 because of the contract that we have. No matter what it's costing me, I still have to give it to you for that price. We're locked in for X amount of years. So now the market has changed. Now we're in like a limbo land where people can just do what they want until this new thing goes in effect. When the new laws go into effect, the new deals and all the contracts are now submitted, reviewed, and agreed upon. That's why we're in limbo land. It's more of like renewing all of these. So like right now, rice, milk, eggs, cheese, like dairy, like all the things that we're also getting shipped internationally you're seeing like different prices all over the place. Like for instance, milk went up. Just the simplest things, or you're finding less shipping on certain things because there's no longer a quota, so now we're getting less orders. So for instance, Pine Sol around here, their name brand Pine Sol has been definitely a thing because the contract with the Pine Sol, before we were paying X amount, now people aren't ordering because the value, it went up. So if it was costing me for that apple $2, I'm going to charge you $3 now because I need my 2 plus my profit. So you just went from paying $1 for that apple to $3, and this is going to be like that for however long until we agree. Now, when I submit to for the laws and everything to go through, and then it gets submitted, that's when we agree on those contracts and prices, and they get locked in. And I know like the fair market price in the beginning, when weed first got legal here, there was a big controversy about the prices and the gouging and all of these things. And then there was a bunch of meetings. And at that time, I wasn't such a weed addict. Like I wasn't so into all of that. I was just smoking for medical purposes, and I really wasn't I was more focused on myself. But I did pay attention to things, but I wasn't so keyed in. But I know that overall we won that, and like now it's similar. It's kind of back at that point because of the whole treaty things, though. But there is a fair market price, and for all gardening, and that falls in that category. So crop as far as corn and all of that falls in the same category. But right now, because of those treaty laws, we're in like a limbo land. But once the limbo land's over, knowing where you guys stand or don't stand or what you can do in limbo land, this is the time to fight and to bid against and fight against it, because come the submission, it's over. Like you lost. Wait till next time.
Right. Well, we've been doing that since the beginning of our program. When our program started, the prices, of course, they were high because the program was new. Well, looking at prices from 2018 to looking at prices now, we're up almost 19% up from what we first started our program.
Is there anything you could file, like a petition or something you could file to bring the awareness to this to some government like entity?
We have. We have been doing it.
Okay, so tell us about that a little bit. How has that been going?
Right. We have what is it's called the medical board. and that is who actually runs our medical program. It is a board of, I think, 9 people that sit on this board, and they're people that have nothing to do with cannabis. The only anything that they have to do with cannabis is the stocks that they're getting. Most of them, and I think that there's 4 of them that is against cannabis to begin with.
So they're majority shareholders, and they've taken over the company and did a takeover, and now they're cock blocking.
So we have a board of a pharmacy board that runs our program that doesn't care about patients, and that's just the bottom line. They don't. As long as they can sit there and make the laws, they're okay, and it doesn't matter how much we complain, no matter what we do. They've allowed the growers and the processors, the testing places and dispensaries to make their own prices. Ohio doesn't have a fair market run on our cannabis program. It's what they decide.
Okay.
And most of it is decided at the growers. Of course, the growers sell it to who have the dispensaries, and the dispensaries, of course, are making 2 to 3 times the amount of profit off of. And listen, since the invention of our program, since we've gone legal and we've had dispensaries to go to get our medicine, Ohio patients have paid in just a little north of $800 million.
Holy shenanigans.
Yeah, in just 3 years, we've paid just a little north of $800 million to the program.
That is a lot of money, for sure. Yeah. Don't know what I would do with all of that, but for sure, like.
And it's from patients. Patients are the one, sick people that live on a limited income. Majority of the people that are on our program are on Social Security, living on a very minimum income, and $800 million has came from sick people in the last 3 years of our program being up and running.
Most of our government makes money off of the sick people, just like with the whole cancer. I kind of feel I'm against our government when it comes to, how do I properly word this? Like, when I feel like they don't always do what's best for us. It's more of like what's best for their pocket. And like when Europe and Canada has proven that there are prescription medications that their government has approved and their government has been using for numerous of years on patients, helping to fix them, why our FDA hasn't even begun clinical study trials, but yet you're claiming you want to help these sick patients and you want to help these people, but yet if it's kind of like who went to the moon first. Okay, well, whoever went, we're going to learn next and we're going to follow the leader. Why are we not following if it's actually helping and doing good for these patients? Instead, our U.S. doctors are sending our patients to go on the internet and order prescription medications from other flipping countries that aren't covered under our insurance to pay out-of-pocket prices, again, to bring these into our market and flood the market with the European drugs and with the Canada drugs, prescription medications that we can't actually get from our doctor. But our doctor can manage us, run all the labs on it, oversee it, tell us about it, tell us what we should go do, walk us through the damn steps. But yet, we're not going to invest in trying to get those medications here, so we don't have to do that.
Right. And it's sad that, our country, and even, it goes far as states, treat their patients the way they do.
Mm-hmm. It's all about the dollar. It's all about the bang and the dollar. And if something's going to come in that could eliminate that potential dollar and only be $1 one time or 2 times spent, and it would actually eliminate a whole field or department of services that we are funding and operating, that is, I feel like, the whole shebang in both operations, whether it's the marijuana or pharmaceutical industry. That is why they don't want the takeover of new prescription medications, and they don't want the takeover of the cannabis, because you're literally eliminating so many other departments when you are getting the new inventive things. And that's why the science is there. Like, why are we, what's the point of doing all the science if we're not going to use it?
It's because medicine is, It's practicing. They practice
I'm so
medicine
sick of
every
being
4 days.
practiced on. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sick of being practiced. I'm sick of being a guinea pig. I just want what I want and just keep it pushing. I'm happy with my marijuana, and just leave me be with that and forget the rest.
Right, and that's why I become a cannabis patient, is because I just couldn't do the pharmaceuticals no more. It become too many pills and too much injections and
So
too much for
yeah,
me
tell me a
to
little
do.
bit about your story and your medical. I kind of wanted to do that on Sprinkle for Some Love, but definitely I still want to discuss it here. Um, what is like? I know you said you had Crohn's disease and things like that. Let's talk about what led you. Like, what is your pharmaceutical experience? I really don't know that.
Oh wow. Well, when I was diagnosed back in '96 um, with Crohn's, and it was an ongoing battle to start um, with all the medicines. You have to take immune blockers, and you have to take so much pills. It just become for me. It was so much as all the injections, I guess, from the all the medicines and stuff.
So I know a lot about science, and I know a lot about stomachs and stuff, but Crohn's disease is something I never really fully grasped because I was so busy fighting gastroparesis and many other diseases with my stomach. What I kind of just think I tucked it away and forgot like which one of the stomach diseases it is and does. Can you
It,
kind
it's
of explain what exactly Crohn's disease is?
well, Crohn's is pretty much like the swelling of the intestines. You have a lot of extra um, abdominal pain, diarrhea,
Okay.
fatigue all the time.
Okay.
It's a lot of people experience anything from abdominal joint, lower abdomen pains, clear to their rectum most times.
Okay. It sounds a
It
lot
just
like the
depends upon
gastroparesis, but just minus the paralyzation part, like all the
yeah,
symptoms and everything.
yeah. As far as like for me, it was mostly the bloating, the diarrhea, the vomiting all the time.
So could you
Um,
digest, or were you able to get nutrition, or were you malnutritioned as well?
yeah, I lost a lot of weight, and that's what the immune suppressants are for. Is you put these injections into you, and your disease is supposed to attack the um, the medicine, but it doesn't really ever work that way. I was on so many steroids and immunity suppressants that for, for me to be able to get up 2 feet and go to a potty chair at 28 years old was the best that I could do.
Okay. Well, you look a
And
lot
that
better now. I'll give you that.
and I tell you, it was because of it was because of all the medicines that I had to take.
I feel like I can relate to you on so many
The
levels.
anti-inflammatories, the vitamins, the antibiotics all the time,
Mm-hmm.
the antidepressant drugs that, and those are mostly injectables.
Does
And
Crohn's
I
lead to a
started out,
secondary autoimmune disease? If I'm correct, I can't remember if recall correctly, but I thought it does lead after so many years to a second autoimmune disease, which is so regardless of whether you do or don't take those suppressants, like that other disease will still come forth, and you'll have to still manage that. And then a third disease comes later if you don't manage the first two, if I was correctly. It's been years since I've
right,
studied Crohn's, but at one point in time we thought I had it, so I did like a lot of research on it, but then it didn't turn out to be Crohn's, so I kept it pushing.
right. Well, it does. I have what's called pustulitis, which is my second autoimmune disease. I break out my hands and my feet. I break out in these little. They're like sores. There's not really. They're not pus filled or anything like that. They're just really irritating small sores that hurt, and sometimes they bust open. They don't bleed, but they do leave like a crater in my skin because um, the fleshulitis stuff. It kind of eats the skin underneath of where
Okay.
like a boil. So that is, I've developed that in the last couple of I'd say like the last year. But that come from the infliximab that I was on. It's it's supposed to help with psoriasis and
Yeah, so they treated your
arthritis
sores
and
as psoriasis, which it wasn't, is what you're saying?
no,
No?
it didn't help at all.
No.
The medicine actually made me sicker.
Because it's a
And
steroid that they're giving you, and they shouldn't be giving an autoimmune disease a steroid. That's a no-no. But continue.
right, the steroids.
The guinea pigs that we've
The
become over the
hydrocortisone.
years for them to learn what they should and shouldn't do.
Yeah, it took a long time. So, and it just for me, it just become. I think that I was on 3 different injections a week. One that I had to do every 3 days, one that I did once a week, and then once I did the other 2 days I didn't do the 3. Um, and then, of course, with all the vitamins and anti-inflammatory pills and everything that I had to take, it just become too much. And I just said, well, look, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I need something that's not going to make me sick. I can't. I wasn't functioning. I was, going 2 feet from my bed to a potty chair was the most I could do. My mother had to take care of me. And I was almost a total care at the time because of the medicine that I was on.
Okay.
So I just decided that medicine was enough, so I switched to cannabis, and I came off of I have a couple of inhalers that I have to take, and of course I take just a couple of pills now.
Right, there's always still a few things, but you were able to minimize majority of the pharmaceuticals and replacement over time. How long would you say it took you to eliminate your bag of medications?
It took me probably a total of 3 years.
Okay. And over those 3 years, how many arguments would you say you had with doctors that didn't want you to eliminate? Because I know in my personal experience, I had a lot of doctors try to divert me or try to give me the speech of marijuana and how it's not healthy and it's a drug, or you have to think about your kids or your family.
Oh, yeah, I heard that all the time. I heard that every time I brought up to a doctor about cannabis. It was, the wrong treatment for me. It's something I don't need to look at. They just throw another pill at me. Of course, at the time, I thought, they're doctors. They know what they're doing, so, okay, whatever. But it just come to a point where, I'm done leaving it up to the doctors, and, I took it over myself. And it took me 3 years to come off all the pharmaceuticals that I was on by maintaining a certain level of cannabis in my system.
Correct.
And of course, this is now the 3rd state that I've lived in that I've been a medical patient in, and I keep moving because of the laws. And if Ohio doesn't get their shit together, it looks like I'll have to move again to become a patient to where I can, because I think any program that does not allow their patients to grow for themselves and doesn't look at any kind of criminal justice reform along with their program, I don't think it's a good program. And Ohio's program isn't geared towards patients because we're not allowed to grow for ourselves. We're not allowed to treat for ourselves. And they've done very little as far as the justice reform system, and there's no equality. There's no true equality.
No, but I could see why economically, if Ohio took on the opportunity to grow, most of the produce market would disappear that we get from Ohio, because Ohio is a lot of farmland. And wouldn't those farms would you rather grow an apple or a bud of marijuana when the value of that apple is $1 or the value of this bud is?
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah, I can see where it would be, but I don't think that you're going to get rid of the corn farmers and the wheat and
No,
because
I
there's
don't think they would,
still
but I think that's their initial fear or their justification for not to. Because I've noticed most of the states that are huge to our economic factor of food and industries and farmers and produces, those are the states that are so against it because they know the takeover. And the states that don't actually fully benefit off of all of those things, where they're more city states and like Michigan perhaps, where Michigan we have some farmers, but how you know how big Michigan is? Most of the top half has the farms in it, and still not even all of it. There's so many cities within all the way up that the percentage of farmland compared to Ohio is nowhere near the same.
right. Oh yeah, yeah, and I would hope that moving forward, with whatever adult use program that Ohio comes with, I really hope that it does not hurt the farmers and stuff. I hope that you know they have thought this through. So we'll just have to wait. This coming year.
You're drifting away. I'm losing you. I can't
Oh,
really hear you now.
I
Oh,
moved. I'm sorry.
here you are. And sorry
I
about
just
that
think
beeping.
that
My smoke
you know
detectors
for
are acting stupid.
Ohio to do it this year, it's not going to happen. It's already passed. We've already had voting and everything for
So you
Ohio. So
said if Ohio doesn't get with it, you would leave. Where do you feel the law? Where would you go? Where do you feel the laws would fit and be comfortable for you and has the best for the patient's advantage, like you're discussing?
it would be Michigan. Yeah,
It would be
absolutely.
back Michigan.
Michigan's program, the way they have it allowed. I mean, even if my wife and I would want to move up there and didn't necessarily want to become cannabis patients, we could just freely grow 12 plants apiece and just be and heal, medicate ourselves. So we wouldn't have to worry about a medical program if we come to Michigan because we could throw seed in the ground and go to town and not have to worry about it.
Correct.
So if Ohio doesn't really, turn the way it's supposed to turn, I mean, we would consider moving. I mean, we talked about it several times, because of the program and the way, patients are treated. And I think that the way a patient's treated for a program is very important. And Ohio is not thinking about their patients.
No, they're thinking about the economic factors and the money and what they can do to get what they can get and just get what they want, which is the tax dollars off the dispensary. And the rest of that shit, they're saying they can, not having it. And I definitely see their economic reasons, but at the same time, it doesn't justify any of it. And then the pharmaceutical. So I just think that it's more or less of. That's going to still be a battle. Like, I feel like Texas and Ohio still has a lot of growing to do in the marijuana laws, but Texas is way further behind. So that's a bonus for Ohio. But still, I feel like Ohio it needs to reform that program for sure. And is there a way to legally advocate and do that? Is there a way to go against or what are the actual options there?
Ohio's been. We've got a group that's called Sensible Coalition Movement, and they've been going through and they've been really eating it up where they've passed citizen initiatives to where it's no time, no fine for up to 100 grams of cannabis. So you can walk freely in these cities. Martin Ferry was just one that just passed it. They're going to allow 100 grams that you can walk around with 100 grams and not worry about having any jail time or fine or having anything taken confiscated from you. So,
and that's quite a bit of marijuana to be walking around with one person on you, unless you're walking around with a larger supply than that.
Right, it is, but I mean, it's nice that they've thought about that and they put it to a level to where it does protect somebody if they want to carry an ounce with them or if they're transporting from one place to another a couple ounces and they're going home or whatever the case may be, they're no longer in fear of having any ramifications from it. So, we do have several groups that are working on, pushing different initiatives for different cities. And if we can get more cities going along with this, the more we get along, it will become majority. And then, of course, then they'll have no choice but to pass what the majority is. And so that's what the thinking behind
is getting the majority.
Yes. Yeah. And, I'm going to talk about. I'm trying to get Bill Smith Jr., who's been heading this up. I'm going to try to get him on this Thursday on Canaviews to talk with him about this past, election and the votes that they had, and all the cities that did
Well,
pass. So
definitely
this
send us
Thursday
some
is for the
info.
cast Thursday.
Yeah, send us some info right before that is, or a link on where we can watch that at later. So I definitely would like to follow your journey and what you got going on. I really liked the live the other day. Afterwards, I still stayed backstage and watched. I was like, I don't want to leave because I don't know how to get to where this is. So
Oh yeah, that's cool. Well, I'll send you a link to it. We're on the Ohio. It's the Creative Care Beacon Ohio chapter, which is what I do my shows off of. So I'll send you a link to that, and
yeah,
so
I
you
believe
can.
I posted it down here. It's that blogtalkradio.com at Canaview/2021. Oh, that's just the fifth. Okay, that's this one show. Okay.
Yeah, the show that you that was this last
Okay.
show. So they'll be able to, if they click on that, they'll be able to go and watch the last show. But if you go to blogtalkradio.com, Canaviews, all my shows are there and on Creative Care Beacon. So if you go to either one of them, all my shows from the past are all archived there.
Alrighty. So if you also send me like a .com for those or like the websites, I'll include them up when I upload everything.
Absolutely. Yep. Sounds good.
So I got another question about CPS. I hear that you guys are really advocates for people who have had their children taken, whether it was marijuana related or not. So I know that there are a lot of moms out there, and I was doing a Mama Bear 420 group on Facebook, but then when I joined Relevant the same week, Facebook shut down one of those groups that I was doing, which had a lot of girls that asked a lot of questions about that. So I definitely think that maybe they'll be tuning into this because they also followed the 420 Smoke Room on Facebook. So maybe you'll get some people that have a lot of questions. So let's kind of break down what is it that you guys do about CPS, where can they get an application, how do they sign up if they're interested, where can they get more information, and what is it exactly you do for the CPS part?
Just what we do is we write letters to CPS. We do court support. We go to support the parents that have their kids taken away. We do letter writings for them. I do have them on the show to get and that is another way to get more supporters, have them come on and tell their story of what happened and how it happened. And it gains, public awareness and public support. That's how we do it. Is we get it out there and we draw more people in to write letters and do court support for these people. And a lot of times dealing with family court, they don't allow a audience most times. But just going to the courthouse, being there, supporting, even standing outside in the forum, it's support enough for that family, and the judge knows that there's people out there supporting them. So that's what we do. We advocate pushing, for CPS to stop taking, people's children. That cannabis is no reason to take somebody's children from them. We talked a little bit about it on the show the other night. I think other short than beating and abusing your child, how you discipline your child in your own home is nobody's business, and that's what it comes down to. And a lot of times it doesn't take a real report or a report to get CPS in your house. A distraught neighbor or a pissed off family member can just call on you as well, and that'll start the process of CPS coming in your home. And those are the things that we try to stop.
Right. Well, here in Michigan, they actually now have DHS and CPS at the kids' school. And they're actually in the school. Like, in order for you to get your food stamps and do your appointments, you go to the kids' school, you fill out all your forms in her little office, just like you would like the speech therapist or counselor, and you fill everything out. And literally, they're in the school with your children on a regular, whether you are consenting to it or not. Their office is there.
That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and because now the moment we pull a child down, it's even more crazier here for the justice system. So let's say we feel like your child is smoking marijuana, we pull your child down and we drug test your child on the spot, and we actually have a police station here on the campus as well. And you go over there, and if you're dirty, then that officer takes you to a mini child straight to the juvenile. Like the juvie is still right here within the city. You literally go straight to the juvie, and then you get to call your mom from the juvie.
See, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Like they have the office there, they got a mini station, they got the CPS, they got the DHS, and they do all of this before calling your mother.
Yeah, that should not be allowed. I mean,
it's a violation of your rights and amendments, of course. It's not, but Michigan, and this is just subjected, like this is here in Pontiac, and this is in Detroit, I believe, and Flint, I believe. It's basically the hoods are doing this, and in the lower income communities, in the white suburban communities, that's not happening. Their buildings, their offices are still right where they've always been. They shut ours down,
because those are the easier targeted people. Those are the easier targeted. You know, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the hood areas have always struggled. They've always been the bottom of every city's list of any kind of economical boost or anything to do. And those are the easiest kids to take away as people that are in poverty.
Correct.
And that's
people who can't fight back and don't have the money to get a lawyer to say whether they were right or wrong, or how high did I jump, or did I take the right class, did I pee in the cup how many times, was it enough, was it good color, like all these stupid questions, like, you feel me? And like honestly, I feel like exactly what you're saying is A1, but it's the saddest part at the same time, because those are the people who are actually struggling to make and become something and do something, and literally they take everything they have and put it back into their house, their family, their children, and into the community as well. You know, they're the ones that keep the community running. All the liquor stores, all the corner stores, all the little businesses, all the shops and everything that are within those communities are all funded through local communities shopping and supporting local businesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just doing the same thing in the suburbs.
It's easier targeted because it is hard to fight CPS. It really is. And so those are the things we stand for, and those are the, human rights violation, again, that, that we fight for. So definitely, absolutely reach out to us, and, we'll do what we can do for every case. I mean, of course, every case is different. So, and it is, sad that CPS does what they do. So yeah, definitely reach out to me, and we'll go from there.
Yes, I'm excited to hear more about everything you guys got going on, and I definitely would love to have you on Sprinkle Some Love of the Cause and go over some more of your medical conditions in that group that we have, and on that podcast, which is separately aired from this. And we really talk more about medical there. I really wanted to get your whole cannabis story and driven over here, because that's what this is all about here at the 420 Smoke Room.
Right.
So yeah.
And I'm very appreciative of you having me on and having me here.
You're welcome. Anytime. We do open mic night on a regular or morning chat coffees. It's like whenever we feel. I really don't have a set schedule because my lifestyle is crazy with my health, and then the kids, and I have dogs, and then like my teenagers are, some days they're good and some days they're well behaved, and some days I feel like they're trying to take each other out.
Right. It's the lives and the days of a mother. I greatly know how it is. I've had several teenagers myself, so.
Yes. So.
Again, thank you very much for having me on and let me talk, and anytime you're more than welcome to hit me up, and I'll come on.
Alrighty, well, until next time, I will see you guys. Thank you for joining us at the 420 Smoke Room.